In March 2019, I first discovered and fell in love with the band Gorillaz. Seeing as how 5 years later I've re-entered my toxic obsession with this band, there's nothing toxic about this, it seems fitting to talk about the character that had the biggest influence on me and whom I have the biggest love-hate relationship with. Stuart, 2D Pot. To be clear, the title of the video doesn't mean this is going to be a deep dive into the character's psyche through all the things he's experienced. Someone on Tumblr probably has all that written out for you. This video is going to be a look at the more technical side of things, and answer the question, how has 2D's design and voice changed over the years? Lore and context may be sprinkled in, but they're ultimately not the focus of this. Also, there's a crap ton of different designs and models of 2D from throughout the years, and if I tried to mention all of them, we'd be here all day, so I'll only bring up the ones I consider to be the most relevant. Let's start with one of the earliest known drawings of 2D from around the late 90s, back when Gorillaz was working through some concept details. Ultimately, 2D's design isn't all that different from his final design, the only real difference is that his eyes are a lot smaller. Now, to the band's official Phase 1 with their self-titled album, 2D's design is very tall and lanky. Canonically clocking in at 6'2", 2D has blue, bordering purple hair, 2 black circular eyes as the result of a double hyphema, his front teeth missing, and a whole load of t-shirts and jeans at his disposal. He usually never seems without a can of spray paint or a cigarette, or sometimes both. He's also seen normally with dark circles under his eyes. As for his voice, it shifted around a lot throughout this phase, from lower and dopier to slightly higher pitched and ditzy sounding.
Murdoch called me 2D because I've got 2 dents in my head from my ram raid coma car crash episode in my life. It's not because I'm two-dimensional or anything like that.
These action figures, they're useless. My head doesn't wobble like that. I can't catch it, look, it's all slippery. I can't get it.
Understandably, this shift might be the voice actor Nelson DeFreitas simply finding his footing with the character. In universe, it's probably the painkillers. Moving on to Phase 2 with Demon Days, it should be mentioned that with each phase, a different art style accompanied it, which usually resulted in the character designs being updated in a sense. And 2D's changed a lot. For starters, his hair has gone from indigo to blue, his eyes also featured some changes depending on the artwork. In some art you can see his pupils, which is actually medically accurate for people with hyphemas. And Phase 2 also contains the first instances of 2D's eyes depicted as white instead of black, such as the video for Rocket. His clothing style has also remained similar, with the typical style being t-shirts and jeans, or in more cases than Phase 1, a lack thereof. Voice-wise, it was pretty much the same as late Phase 1, but with more of an attitude behind it in some videos and interviews, also much more cockney than Phase 1. That said, 2D still tended to act pretty ditzy more often than not.
I got a temporary job like work on the rise at my old man's like fun fair, which was wicked really. It did a lot for my confidence, yeah?
Phase 3 in the Plastic Beach album meant another change in 2D's design, although a little more minimal than from Phase 1 to 2. Along with 2D appearance, Phase 3 also introduced a regularly used 3D model of 2D. Starting with the drawn images of him, 2D's hair didn't change all that much for color or length, but his eyes feature more changes from white to black compared to Phase 2, and it could be argued that the reason is from the suffering he's experienced being held hostage on Plastic Beach by Murdoch. His attire has changed to a nautical theme, being on an island, with captain hats and scarves, you know, the works. In the music video specifically, 2D's outfit is a consistent look of an orange t-shirt, jeans, and a clown mask. His 3D model, while only used in a few videos, keeps his black eyes and makes his hair a dirtier blue and a little shorter cut. I will also count his Do Ya Thing model in this, where his hair is significantly shorter and a brighter blue in line with the Phase 3 art. In terms of his voice, it could be described as 2D going through withdrawal from his painkiller addiction, seeing as he's on an island in the middle of nowhere, causing him to sound a range of zoned out to aggressive, which can be heard in the iTunes interview or 2D's appearance on pirate radio.
Now, I don't know, it's all over the place. I get sent tapes through the post.
Tapes, really?
Yeah, tapes.
Through the post?
Yeah.
That's very odd.
After a long hiatus, 2D returned in 2017 with Phase 4 and the Humans album. With another new art style and the age of the characters increasing by roughly 6-7 years, it's well reflected in the designs. 2D's hair is much shorter and spikier, and a much darker but more vivid blue in most artwork, as it remains to this day. His eyes still shift between white and black depending on the image, but remain black in music videos. They also tend to shift between circle-shaped and a more realistic eye shape. He also gained another 3D model, this one done through motion capture, and, well, you can see the results for yourself. The model keeps a consistent look of 2D's appearance in the Saturn's Bars music video, with the black button-up and the mom jades. His attire overall seems to have shifted otherwise to more jackets and more, shall we say, expressive clothing? This also marks the start of a more effeminate look on 2D, mostly in the fact he started painting his nails and sometimes shows off his luscious lashes. Phase 4 also marked a massive change in 2D's voice, as his voice actor switched completely starting with the Telecom Beats interview. From this point onward, 2D would be voiced by Kevin Bishop instead of Nelson DeFreitas. This had many fans confused, especially since DeFreitas could be heard as 2D a month prior in the Saturn's Bars music video. As far as I'm aware, there has been no official reason stated for the switch, whether it was on part of the production team or DeFreitas himself. All that said, the switch between voices is very much noticeable.
Loudest doorbell I ever heard.
Looks like a fixer-upper. Just a peppermint tea for me.
I thought she was going to say something quite sort of scary, but she said, "Can you hold my coat for me?" And I had 2 cups of orange juice in my hand, and I said, "I can't because I've got two cups of orange juice in my hand."
Bishop's 2D sounds much more laid back and older in a sense, which makes me wonder if 2D's age had a part in the voice switching up, but I don't know. Phase 5 and the release of the Now Now marked one of the biggest changes in 2D's overall design and made his white eyes permanent, only appearing as black one final time at the end of the Humility music video. Unless you count the G-Shock ads. Adding on, his eyes are more often eye-shaped rather than circles, as they have been ever since. It's been said 2D's white eyes are the result of his mood and mental state since Phase 3 being much better, and there's been no real other reason for the change, so I'll take it. 2D's clothing has become more adultish, with sweaters, polos, and jackets along with jeans. Another minor thing to note is that one of his front teeth is back, and if it was a transplant, why not do both? But hey, I'm not British. His voice, for the one time in Phase 5 he does speak, remains pretty much the same from Phase 4, but with a little more energy in it. In Phase 4, he sounded really tired. I don't know if that's just me.
No, I didn't black out. I just fell asleep.
Phase 6 with the Song Machine didn't offer too much change visually for 2D. His hair in some music videos is more cleaned up, a little less spiky, and it's kind of apparent at this point that he's trying to hide a receding hairline because he's 40 now, but I'm not one to judge. His clothing is arranged now from all past phases, from the formal to the casual to the lack of. His voice, on the other hand, has been shifting again? It's still Kevin Bishop voicing him, but there seems to be a switch around this time with the direction. Let me put it this way. In the Machine Bites, 2D's voice was pretty similar to Phases 4 and 5. Same with the Song Machine radio, for the most part.
I got very confused. They kept sort of speaking to me, and I didn't realise it was all a game, and then they called the police. It was a speak difficult.
Guys, this is 2D from Gorillaz, live and on air. Also, on a chair.
Then I saw a brief Comic-Con interview, and there was definitely a difference in 2D's tone and pitch.
Right. Well, yeah, everything's brilliant. Cheers.
Starting in this phase, 2D's voice becomes a lot quieter. I also noticed this change in the brief PSA at the end of the Aries music video, and the brief intermissions with him and Murdoch for Song Machine Live, where his voice is higher pitched as well. And it doesn't stop there. It continues on to Phase 7 and Cracker Island. This phase had more utilization of 3D models to depict the characters, though they still showed up in 2D artwork. The models were mostly used for promotional material and music videos, of which there turned out to be plenty. 2D would have a signature hat and this Mickey Mouse looking thing, gain a little stubble, and would primarily wear t-shirts and jeans again. Going along with the lore, 2D starts out regularly wearing pink, then switching to blue as he grows closer to the rival cult. And people who don't know the Phase 7 story are going to be very confused. Don't worry, I'm just as confused as you are. Voice-wise, this phase started making the moments of 2D's higher-pitched voice from late Phase 6 much more consistent, to the point I'm personally scared it's going to be his permanent voice from now on. 2D's voice overall in this phase is much more whispery and strained as well, to the point it doesn't sound natural for his voice to evolve this way. Part of it could be he's actually whispering. I mean, that's what a lot of it sounds like in the Stuart podcast, but even in cases where it doesn't look like he'd need to whisper, it still sounds like he's unable to raise his voice any higher.
It's another lovely day in America. I'm just making Murdoch a cuppa. It's Irish coffee with 12 sugars and no coffee.
All right. Welcome to my book club. Let's talk about this book. This tea is well nice. My legs have gone melty like they're made of cheese.
I don't know if this was some sort of new vocal direction Bishop was given, or I have heard thoughts of artificial pitching going around, so maybe for some reason they're doing that. Or maybe, just maybe, all those years of smoking cigarettes has finally caught up to 2D. For a small personal piece, I don't like this version of 2D's voice, however, comparing this to Phase 4, I think his Phase 4 voice is great. Am I of the opinion that it would be preferable for Nelson DeFreitas to voice 2D again? Yes. But for what we have and what the current situation is, I very much prefer depressed stoner 2D over pandering ooh soft boy 2D. Because that's what I feel this new direction is a response to. It's to all the TikTok girlies and the people in the YouTube comments over the last decade and a half calling 2D soft and pure and that shit. And benefit of the doubt, I'm sure some of these people are just stupid teens. I mean, I was doing the same as a stupid teen, still am honestly. But there's gotta be a line in the sand for this. This man is in his mid-40s, but his current voice sounds like it's reflecting all those fangirls who call him too pure for this world like he's not a middle-aged man with 2 fucking mortgages. And until the inevitable Phase 8, this is all we have. From Phase 1 to 7, and a span of 20 years added to his life, there's been a lot of change. Both good and bad depending on your view of things. With this year becoming another lull period for Gorillaz, it seems all we can do now is watch and wait for what comes next. I don't know who's watching this, but please, replace Kevin for all I care, just switch up the voice direction a little. And to try and end on a higher note, my personal favorite 2D design has to be Phase 3. The art style of Phase 3 overall gives this strangely nostalgic vibe, maybe because of a personal connection I have with beaches and summer and whatnot, but 2D's fashion and expressions in this era just really appeal to me. Summer depression, I think, is what speaks to me. And hey, thanks for making it to the end. I'm really glad you decided to do that. If you liked this video, leave appreciation, and I'll see you in the next video, so bye!